My next video shows some of the basic functionality of FT817OS. This one already has the config and the calibration files, so it didn't have the initial startup as we saw in the last video. Upon startup, it immediately checks the radio configuration and the software calibration, lets you know if everything's okay. Initially, you can use the help command. I split the help command up into several different help commands because it provides a lot of information. So I could just type help system. We'll just return the system commands. The functions of the system commands are more operating system centric than radio centric, but I will describe them to you. Clear is pretty much obvious. Debug turns on and off the debug flag. I'll get into debug in another video. It's quite long. History and help, obviously, I've already gone through. History will tell you a history of the commands that you've typed in. I haven't really done anything yet. It doesn't capture the command history itself. The output log is something that is used to show transactions made to the radio. At this time, there really haven't been any transactions. Currently, help is still captured in the output log, and that's going to be removed. Show flags shows the flags that are within the FT817 module, what flags are enabled and disabled. Within the operating system, verbose is turned on by default. Currently, debug is off, verbose is on. Write enable for direct calls to write to the EEPROM are disabled, and the warning flag goes hand in hand with the write allow flag. Test calibration will check the current calibration of the radio, the digest of that calibration, against the one backed up. When they match, it will return OK. If not, it will return an error. And test config does the very same thing with the configuration that's generated from the solder blobs against the one backed up in the config file. And you can see that's OK too. Verbose is generally left on within the operating system, so verbose information can be sent back from the FT817 module back to the operating system. A lot of commands that require direct calls to the EEPROM for writing is disabled by default. So for instance, if I were to do something like toggle RF gain, error. You can see here that writing to the EEPROM is disabled and must be enabled before use. When writing is disabled, we have the $, just like in Bash. If I do a write enable, I have a nice warning here that lets the operating system make direct calls to the radio EEPROM to write to them. To read to them is not an issue. To write to them, I've made it so it can't accidentally be activated, or a command can't accidentally be written. When we have the pound sign, we know that we're in the write enable mode. And now if I toggle the RF gain, for instance, we could hear that. Well, I'll shut it off. We saw that it went from squelch, which is currently set on the frequency that I have, to RF gain, and you were able to hear that that worked. I wanted to show you the flags right now. We could do a show flags. We could see that the write allow and warned is now enabled within the flags. Debug is currently off. We'll get into debug in a separate video. Thank you.